The little café at the corner. It was nothing, a café no larger than a room, tucked beneath the weary bricks of an old street where the morning sun struggled to arrive. The windows fogged each dawn with the steam of boiling kettles, and the bell above the door trembled with the smallest gesture of wind. To strangers, it was a place of no consequence, a resting point for the hurried, a forgotten shop in the endless map of the city. Yet to him, it was the center of the world. Each day before the clock struck 8, he passed by the door and entered, not so much for the bitterness of the coffee, but for the sweetness of something far rarer. Behind the counter stood a girl, not radiant like queens of poems, not dressed in jewels nor silks, but in the humble apron of labor. Yet her smile carried a light more enduring than chandeliers, more tender than dawn itself. He never confessed this secret, not to her, not even to himself. He merely ordered quietly the same ritual. One black coffee. She would hand it to him, their fingers nearly touching, and the world for one trembling second seemed to stop. 1. The first threads of conversation. At first, their dialogue was thinner than cobwebs. "Busy morning?" she would ask, arranging coins with slender hands. "Always," he would answer, a weary smile upon his lips. It might have remained thus forever, mere exchanges of courtesy, if not for a forgotten wallet. One winter morning, distracted by deadlines and gray skies, he left the café hurriedly, only to hear her voice calling behind him, "Sir, you forgot this." She stood at the doorway, holding his wallet as if it were a relic of immense importance. Snowflakes caught in her hair, and her breath clouded in the cold. He returned, embarrassed, thanking her more than needed, yet within him bloomed a certainty. This girl, whose name he did not yet know, had already begun to live in the chambers of his thought. 2. Days of small exchanges. Thereafter, conversation grew, like ivy over stone. They spoke of trivial things, the rain that never ceased, the traffic that roared like a restless beast, the weariness of work and study. She confessed she was a student, laboring through nights of books and exams, her shifts at the café a shield against poverty. He, a simple clerk in an office that neither demanded nor offered grandeur, admitted his life was stitched with monotony. Yet together, in those fleeting minutes, monotony dissolved. Laughter rose between them over clumsy customers, or the stubborn machine that sputtered steam like an old dragon. Sometimes he noticed the fatigue beneath her eyes, the way she rubbed her wrist after hours of serving cups. He longed to say, "Let me carry your burden." But silence, that eternal tyrant, held him captive. 3. The weight of absence. One morning, he entered and found the counter empty. Another woman served in her place, indifferent and cold. His heart, without permission, sank. The coffee tasted the same, yet it was hollow, an echo of something missing. He returned the next day. Still she was absent. Days stretched like centuries. He imagined her ill or gone forever. The little café became a grave of memories, every corner haunted by her absent smile. At night he dreamed of voices, of unfinished conversations, of her hands slipping from his grasp. He told himself it was absurd. How could a man mourn someone who was never his? And yet, grief does not wait for permission. It claims the heart with ruthless speed. 4. The return. On the 5th morning, he entered with reluctant steps, ready to endure another emptiness. But there she was, behind the counter, arranging cups as if she had never left. "You're back?" he whispered, not trusting his voice. She laughed softly. "Exams kept me away, but I see someone noticed." He nearly confessed the torment of those days, the tastelessness of coffee, the grayness of streets. Instead, he only smiled, yet his eyes betrayed him. She looked at him longer than before, and something unspoken traveled between them, as tangible as the fragrance of roasted beans. That morning, when he reached for his usual coin, she shook her head. "Today," she said, "your coffee is on me." He froze. Never had kindness struck him so deeply. "Why?" She leaned closer, her voice lowered to a secret. "Because I know you always come here tired, and still you smile. Maybe it's time someone returned the favor." He did not answer, for words failed, but in his chest a warmth blossomed greater than any fire. The distance of duty. Fate, however, delights in testing fragile hearts. Soon after, his employer sent him to another city, a temporary assignment that would steal weeks from his routine. He left unwillingly, dragging himself to trains and offices, yet carrying with him the image of a girl behind a counter, framed by steam and light. In the evenings, when loneliness surrounded him, he wrote unsent letters, pages of confession, admissions of how much she had become the rhythm of his mornings. He tore them up, ashamed. She deserves better than a clerk's longing, he told himself. Still, the days crawled, colorless, until at last he returned. His steps, more eager than dignified, carried him to the little café. 6. The moment of truth. The bell rang. There she was. She looked up, her smile blooming instantly. "Back already? I thought perhaps the city had stolen you." He laughed, though his voice trembled. "It tried, but I realized something. The coffee there was bitter, no matter how much sugar I added." She handed him the familiar cup. "Then this will taste better." And then, before he could step away, she added with a softness that stopped the very air, "Like always, without sugar, right?" His hand faltered. His eyes met hers. She remembered. She had always remembered. In that simple phrase lay everything unsaid, every morning shared, every silence filled with meaning. Epilogue. He drank that day's coffee slowly, as if it were wine of kings, not because of the taste, but because she had given it. And though no promises were exchanged, though no grand declarations were made, he knew. Love does not always arrive as thunder. Sometimes it dwells in routine, in cups of coffee, in the smallest corners of the world. The café remained what it always was, humble, ordinary, almost invisible. But for him, and perhaps for her, it had become a cathedral. For what is love if not the sanctification of the everyday?